Imagine this for a moment. You're standing in the middle of a frozen wilderness. The wind is cutting through your jacket. Snow stretches in every direction, smooth and endless, like the world has been erased. There are no roads, no tracks, no signs of life. And then you hear it. A deep mechanical rumble. Something is moving toward you. Not a snowmobile, not a truck, but something far stranger. Today, you're about to discover some of the most unusual off-road snow vehicles ever created. Machines so bizarre, so inventive, that they look like they came straight out of a science fiction movie. And yet, they're real. They were built for one reason only: to survive where almost nothing else can. Stick with me, because every machine on this journey gets stranger than the last, and the final one completely rewrites what you think a vehicle even is. Let's start with a machine born out of desperation, not luxury. The Bombardier B12. Long before snowmobiles became common, winter isolation was a serious problem in rural Canada. Entire towns could be cut off for months. Roads disappeared under snowdrifts taller than houses. That's where Joseph Armand Bombardier stepped in. He wasn't trying to build something cool. He was trying to save lives. The B12 looked like a box on tracks, almost like a snow-covered bus that decided to become a tank. It could carry up to 12 people, fully enclosed, warm inside while chaos raged outside. Under the hood was a modest gasoline engine, nothing powerful by today's standards, but paired with wide rear tracks that spread its weight perfectly across deep snow. Instead of sinking, it floated. Doctors used it to reach patients. Kids rode it to school. Entire communities depended on it. And here's the crazy part. Many of these machines stayed in service for decades. Some are still running today, preserved by collectors who know they're not just vehicles, but pieces of survival history. And if you think that's unusual, the next one feels like it rolled straight off a military battlefield. Picture a vehicle that looks like a small tank, but isn't built for war. It's built for snow. The M29 Weasel was designed during World War II, when armies realized something terrifying. Traditional vehicles were useless in deep snow, so engineers created the Weasel. Wide tracks, low weight, a body that hugged the ground. It didn't fight enemies. It fought terrain. In freezing conditions across Europe and Alaska, the Weasel carried supplies, wounded soldiers, and equipment where nothing else could go. It crawled over snowbanks, slid across frozen lakes, and climbed icy slopes that would stop modern trucks dead in their tracks. After the war, these machines didn't disappear. They were sold to civilians. Ski patrols used them. Researchers drove them into the wilderness. Even today, restored Weasels still show up at snow events, moving with that unmistakable tracked hum. But what comes next takes the idea of a snow vehicle and twists it into something almost playful. Now, imagine something smaller, lighter, almost cute. The Tucker Snowcat didn't look intimidating, but it was an absolute monster in snow. Instead of 2 tracks, it had 4. 1 on each corner. Each one moved independently. That meant the vehicle could crawl over uneven snow like a spider. While other machines slipped and slid, the Snowcat stayed planted. It became famous for Antarctic expeditions, hauling supplies across some of the coldest places on Earth. Explorers trusted it with their lives. There's a famous expedition where Tucker Snowcats crossed Antarctica itself, something previously thought impossible using ground vehicles. When you look at it boxy and strange, it doesn't scream adventure. But that's what makes it special. It didn't need to look fast or powerful. It just needed to keep going. And it did. But the next machine looks like it shouldn't even work. Imagine a motorcycle. Now imagine someone replaced the rear wheel with a tank track and the front wheel with a ski. That's not a joke. That's the Kettenkrad. Built by Germany during World War II, it's one of the strangest vehicles ever put into mass production. You steered it with handlebars like a bike, but underneath you had a full tracked system pushing you forward. In snow, this thing was unstoppable. Narrow enough to squeeze through forests, light enough to skim over ice, strong enough to tow equipment. Soldiers used it in brutal winter conditions, and after the war, Farmers realized it was perfect for snow-covered fields. Even today, seeing one move feels unreal, like watching two different machines fused into one. And yet, somehow it worked beautifully. But if that fusion surprised you, wait until you see what happens when engineers decide tracks aren't enough. Now, we step into something that looks like it belongs on another planet. The Hägglunds BV206. This vehicle doesn't just have tracks. It has two bodies, connected by a flexible joint. When the front climbs, the back follows. When the front turns, the rear bends with it. This articulated design lets it move across snow, mud, ice, and even water. Militaries loved it. Rescue teams trusted it. Scientists relied on it. It could carry people, stretchers, fuel, and equipment deep into frozen wilderness and still make it back. It didn't care about terrain. Snowstorms meant nothing to it. And despite its size, it barely left a footprint on the ground. That's why it's still used today in polar regions. But now, let's take a sharp turn into something much more personal. What if you needed to cross snow, but you didn't have an army or a research budget? You were just one person. That's where snow bikes came in. Modified dirt bikes fitted with skis and tracks. They looked ridiculous, they sounded angry, and they worked. Riders could glide over deep powder, carve through frozen trails, and climb hills that would be impossible on wheels. These machines became cult favorites among adventurers who wanted speed without giving up snow capability. Modern versions are incredibly capable, but even early homemade snow bikes proved something important. Innovation doesn't always come from factories. Sometimes it comes from people who refuse to stay stuck, and we're just getting started. Because the next machines weren't built for fun, war, or exploration. They were built to do something far more important. Rescue people when everything else fails. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Now, imagine you're not out here for adventure. You're out here because someone needs help. A storm has swallowed the landscape. Visibility is gone. Temperatures are dropping fast. And somewhere ahead, a life depends on whether a machine can keep moving. This is where some of the strangest snow vehicles ever built truly earned their reputation. Not by looking impressive, but by showing up when nothing else could. One of those machines was the Snow Cruiser. Just hearing the name sounds dramatic, and honestly it was. Built in the late 1930s, this thing looked like a rolling building on wheels. Massive, boxy, almost unreal. It was designed for Antarctic exploration, meant to live on the ice for months at a time. The wheels were enormous, taller than most people, and they could retract into the body to adjust for terrain. On paper, it was brilliant. In reality, it struggled. Ice was harder than expected. Traction was unpredictable. But here's why it matters. Even in failure, it pushed boundaries. It taught engineers what not to do, and that knowledge shaped every snow vehicle that came after it. The Snow Cruiser didn't conquer Antarctica, but it showed humanity was bold enough to try. Now let's shrink things down and get much more personal. Picture a single driver, bundled in layers, riding a machine that looks like a lawn tractor mated with a sled. That was the Snow Track, built in Sweden. This compact tracked vehicle became a favorite for ski resorts, power companies, and rescue teams. It wasn't fast, it wasn't flashy, but it was unbelievably reliable. Wide tracks kept it floating over snow. A simple engine meant it could be repaired almost anywhere. People trusted it with their lives. If you broke down in a blizzard, this was the machine you hoped would come for you. Many still operate today, quietly working while newer machines come and go. And then there's a machine that feels like it was designed by someone who asked, what if a snowmobile wasn't enough? The Thiokol Sprite took the idea of a snow vehicle and made it bigger, stronger, and tougher. These machines became legends in mountain towns. Ski patrols used them to reach injured skiers in whiteout conditions. Utility crews used them to repair lines in storms that shut everything else down. The Sprite didn't care about deep snow or steep slopes. It just moved forward, slowly, steadily, relentlessly. When people talk about vehicles that feel alive, this is what they mean. Asterisk asterisk, but sometimes snow vehicles weren't about rescue or work. Sometimes they were about proving something. About speed. About pushing limits. Enter the snow races. In the mid-20th century, inventors started experimenting with lightweight sleds powered by aircraft engines. Yes, aircraft engines. These machines skimmed across frozen lakes at terrifying speeds. No tracks, no wheels. Just skis and raw thrust. They were loud, dangerous, and absolutely mesmerizing. People gathered just to watch them pass in a blur of snow and noise. They didn't last long as a concept, but they proved something unforgettable. Snow wasn't a barrier. It was a surface waiting to be mastered. Now let's talk about something even stranger. A vehicle that didn't ride on top of snow. It pressed into it. Snow rollers. These experimental machines used rotating drums instead of tracks. The idea was simple. Roll instead of slide. In deep snow, the drums compressed the surface, creating their own path. They looked awkward. They sounded wrong. But in certain conditions, they worked shockingly well. These designs never became mainstream, but they show just how far engineers were willing to go to solve the same problem over and over. How do you move when the ground disappears? And then there were the hybrids. Half boat, half snow vehicle. Amphibious snow machines built to cross frozen rivers, slush, and open water without stopping. These vehicles were nightmares to engineer and miracles to operate. One wrong move and you'd sink. But when they worked, they were unstoppable. Explorers could cross terrain that shifted from ice to water and back again in minutes. In polar regions, this flexibility meant survival. As you move forward through history, something interesting happens. Snow vehicles stop being just tools. They become symbols of exploration, of independence, of refusing to be trapped by the environment. People didn't just use them. They trusted them. They named them. They depended on them the way sailors depended on ships. And just when you think every idea has been tried, engineers do something completely unexpected. They remove the tracks. They remove the skis. And they bring in something that feels totally insane, because in the next part, you're going to meet snow vehicles that fly just above the surface. Machines that barely touch the ground. Vehicles that move so differently, your brain struggles to classify them. And one of them might be the most unbelievable snow machine ever built. Asterisk asterisk, now this is where everything starts to feel unreal. Because at this point, engineers stopped asking how to drive on snow and started asking how to almost avoid touching it at all. That single shift in thinking created some of the most mind-bending machines ever built for frozen terrain. Picture this. A frozen lake stretching for miles. The surface looks solid, but underneath it's unpredictable. Traditional vehicles risk breaking through. Tracks can snag. Skis can dig in. So someone asked a wild question. What if instead of pushing against the snow, you skimmed across it using air? That's how the snow hovercraft was born. These machines floated just inches above ice and snow, riding on a cushion of air. No tracks, no skis, just raw physics. They could cross frozen marshes, snow-covered lakes, even slush-filled terrain that would swallow other vehicles whole. They weren't graceful. Steering was difficult. Wind could push them around. But when conditions were right, they were unbeatable. Rescue teams experimented with them. Military units tested them. And while they never became common, they proved that snow didn't always need to be conquered head-on. But that wasn't enough for some inventors. Floating wasn't extreme enough. They wanted speed. Real speed. That's when snowplanes entered the scene. Imagine an airplane without wings, mounted on skis, powered by a massive propeller at the back. These machines roared across frozen landscapes at speeds that felt impossible for ground vehicles. They didn't crawl. They flew just above the surface. Doctors used them to reach remote villages. Mail carriers depended on them. In places where winter erased all roads, snowplanes became lifelines. Loud, fast, and terrifying, they demanded skill and respect. One wrong turn could mean disaster. But in capable hands, they were unmatched. Standing near one as it passed felt like watching a piece of aviation history sliding across the earth. Now let's slow things down again, because not every unusual snow vehicle was built for speed. Some were built for endurance. One of the strangest examples came from the Soviet Union, massive screw-driven vehicles. Instead of tracks or wheels, these machines used giant rotating metal cylinders shaped like screws. As they turned, they pulled the vehicle forward through snow, mud, and even water. They looked absurd, like science experiments gone wrong. But in deep, soft terrain, they worked where nothing else could. These vehicles were used for Arctic exploration and even space capsule recovery. When cosmonauts landed off course in frozen wilderness, screw-drive vehicles went to get them. Slow, noisy, and awkward, but unstoppable. And then there were vehicles that blurred the line between machine and shelter. Mobile snow laboratories. These weren't just vehicles. They were homes on tracks. Scientists lived inside them for weeks, sometimes months, studying polar regions without ever returning to base. Thick walls, small windows, constant engine noise. Imagine sleeping while your entire world vibrates beneath you. These machines crawled across ice fields, carrying everything needed to survive. Food, fuel, equipment, hope. They weren't fast. They weren't elegant, but they represented humanity's refusal to stay on the edge of the unknown. At the same time, civilians were experimenting in their own way. Homemade snow vehicles built in garages and barns. People took tractors, cars, even buses and converted them into winter beasts. Rear wheels replaced with tracks. Front wheels swapped for skis. These machines weren't pretty, but they worked. Farmers used them to haul supplies. Families used them to reach neighbors after storms. Each one was unique. No blueprint, no factory standards. Just creativity and necessity colliding in the cold. And then there's the machine that makes everyone stop and stare. The one that looks wrong no matter how long you look at it. The snow train. Long, articulated vehicles designed to haul cargo across ice sheets in massive linked sections. Each segment followed the last, bending and flexing as it moved. Watching one cross snow felt like watching a mechanical snake glide across a white desert. These trains carried fuel, construction materials, entire buildings. Without them, large-scale polar research would be impossible. They weren't glamorous, but they were essential. What's fascinating is that all these machines share something in common. They were built because someone refused to accept that winter meant stopping. Snow wasn't the end of movement. It was just another challenge to solve. And every solution looked different. Some loud, some slow, some terrifying, some brilliant, but there's still one more category left. And it might be the strangest of all. Because these final machines don't just challenge snow. They challenge logic. They make you ask whether engineers were geniuses or completely out of their minds. In the final part, you're going to see vehicles that combine ideas in ways no one expected. Machines that feel impossible until you see them move. And one final snow vehicle that might be the most unbelievable ever built.